Peace, family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to my chosen ones about how when you are in your downward cycle, or you're feeling low, or you have a lot of things going on at one time, these are the times that you are not really going to be allowed to talk with the people around you and certain family members that operate with another entity in their vessel. You know what I'm saying? So what I mean by that is, a lot of times, well, first let me start by saying we all have cycles. First you have to understand we have cycles. You either got some healthy cycles that's going to consistently go around, or you're going to be on the unhealthy spectrum and consistently have some unhealthy cycles go around. But you don't know what up is without being down. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the duality in those things. But what happens is when you are in the downward spiral part of your cycle, because we don't stay there forever, it's just a cycle, but we all have to experience it numerous times throughout our journey. But when you realize you're in that space again, you'll notice the difference between when you was younger, from adolescence to teens to wherever you may be at. You know, you have to start it from earlier from where you was at. You know what I'm saying? I'm 36, so I have a little leeway in between there. But I used to start mine from my mid-teens all the way on up. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I know that when I used to not have full knowledge and awareness of what I know now, when I used to be in my downward spirals, it wasn't as difficult to talk to beings around me. It almost seemed as if we all kind of understood, like, okay, you throw it out there, meaning me, I throw out my shit that I have going on out there. They listen and throw out their 2 cents accordingly, and then it's a shift of subjects right away to something else. You know what I'm saying? And that was almost the method, and it was, when I think about it, it must have been okay. You know what I'm saying? But as I got more further along in my journey, and I realized, all right, well, that was where I was at in one journey. Some things you okay with when you 6, 7, 8, you're not okay with when you 11, 12. So I understood. I was like, all right, bet. Boom. I wasn't okay with it then. I was okay with it then. Now I'm at this certain place in my journey now where, and this started a couple years back, 5, 6, 7 years back now, I would say. You know, it's been a little while, where I would be in these spaces. It probably was almost 10 years now that I'm thinking numbers. But I would be in these downward spiral spots in my cycle. The people that was closest to me, I didn't know at the time, was some of the witchiest motherfuckers. But as time progressed and I gained more knowledge and experience, I realized this is why I got these responses and these engagements with them when I wasn't in my upward or incline part of my cycle. You know what I'm saying? So when I would get to that space and I would try to communicate outwardly, just or express what's going on inside, because that's what I do naturally already anyways. You know, I just always keep it light, you know, and I keep my other stuff balanced. But then when I get to a certain space, I want to express it more is what happens. I already express it lightly throughout whatever is going on, or that time frame of the situation or whatever. I always express it lightly, but when it all the way hits is when the weight hits. So now it's being discussed a little bit more, and then it may be other things that's going around, because we know things happen in threes. So usually when you got one thing that start happening, it's usually bong bong, another 2, 3 things has to happen. So now it always feels like everything is crumbling, because it's your transitioning part, you know, your downward part of your cycle. So that's why you never stay there forever. You know, the people that choose to stay there forever, they just lowered their cycle. So it's not that they're even staying there stagnant. It's like their cycle is on an even lower vibration, and their will is going even shorter. We taking bigger loops around in our cycles, and our frequency is up higher. But a lot of them would make it extremely difficult for me to even want to be expressive to them when I'm in those kind of places and spaces. Like, because sometimes I would not want to communicate outwardly, because it's like spiritually I just knew that, all right, well, you already know you have to do something about it, you know, and you've been through this, so it's like don't put this vibration out or start complaining. I always knew I wasn't a complainer. I never liked complaining. So to me, I just used to use the basic vocabulary that I knew to kind of correlate how I'm feeling and expressing in the inside outwardly. So when I got to that space, and I'm just like, yo, every time I'm trying to communicate outwardly, whether phone call, you know, or whether it's in person with someone, with the beings that was closest to me, not everybody, just the ones that was closest to me, and the ones that apparently was closest to me is the ones that still not trying to grow, elevate, or ascend. So these are the beings that I had removed myself from. But it's always difficult being in that space to where you on your downward cycle spot and you know it's gonna cycle back up, but then the people around you, it's like just throwing more weight on you. They throwing more bricks on you. Either they like pointing the finger more, or they're trying to make it, turn it to some sympathy, empathy thing, so that way it's back on them, even though you were communicating outwardly about what you have going on, and that's not something that you may always do with certain individuals that you do. And then they make you feel like, oh, okay, they made me pay for expressing this outwardly to them. Now I feel like, okay, this isn't, I would have to operate this differently than the way I just did the next time. You see what I'm saying? Somebody has said to me one day before, like, I don't, my feelings or something wasn't invested the way theirs was, right? And I was just thinking to myself, and I had gave them this example. I said, my daughter, just on a basic level, just a digital example, I was like, my daughter could watch a video on Roblox, get in there and figure out how to do it. She got good at Roblox just from playing it. I could name other things that she did, but I just want to use this as a simple example because it's digital. And then I also had gave her another example of just like something that she does, and it was just like, it still was the witchy sauce on top to not take into account that, okay, you're showing the same action, so that means that this is going to be a different response on the other side. If you play sports, if you never played sports a day in your life and you get on the court or the field and you play your first time, you're going to suck. You're going to not be that good. But the more you do it, you're going to get better. Because the more you experience the game, the better you become. The more you experience that situation, the better you become. So that's where I'm at, and I know where a lot of us are slowly starting to get to more, is just that understanding that it's not that we're not invested in some of these beings that was already connected to us before we start growing. It's just that we can see the full board and the full map. So for me, it's like, all right, I done been through this numerous of times with you, mom, dad, siblings, or it could be any of my spouses that I know. I've been through this, each individualized different situation with y'all, and y'all have shown the same action or reaction. And I've always came to the table with a solution or something else that could be added or adjusted to it. So that's how I always understood that, okay, this is their tactic to try to pull you and to lower you down when you're in your low frequency or your downward cycle. Because you have to think about it. If they're already trying to pull you down, it's going to be harder to pull you down when you up. So it would make more sense for them to go ahead and grasp you when you're at your lower cycle. But we understand that our cycles is literally just that, a cycle. we're not always gonna be in that same space. So it's a lot simplified in here, but communicating it outward, it seems more difficult, because this hasn't been a huge teaching space for a lot of us for a long time. And to be honest, some of us, when we start learning and trying to get into like learning more about the voice and who we are and what's going on the inside, a lot of us get sidetracked first by either getting sent to Africa or getting sent to Europe or just getting sent all over the world for the physical stuff, opposed from going within first, you know. So you have to go within first. But I ain't want to run it up too long, you know what I'm saying? Tap into everything down below. They always going to take every opportunity to try to flip it or lower your vibration. Even if you're expressing to them, hey, that's not the space I'm in. You're trying to give me different energy or lower vibrations. I don't want to intake that energy right now. Don't try to transfer that energy to me. They're still going to try to transfer that energy to you. So it's your job to learn how to shut it off. You don't want to be going through the same game every game, or stepping on the field or practicing and not learning anything and trying your own different moves and tactics. You have to, you know what I'm saying? Peace and love to the kings and queens.